Hello everyone, my name's Alan, and today I'm going to demonstrate to you a new technique and application that you can put onto your dry washer to help improve recovery anywhere from 10 to 25%. Now, as you know, these vibrostatic dry washers are pretty portable. You can take them just about anywhere. They don't require a lot of setup, as opposed to my wash plant that I have here behind me that requires water and all kinds of other equipment and everything else. These are fairly simple. So it's really great because you can take them just about anywhere to do your prospecting. The only disadvantage with the dry washer is that its recovery is only anywhere from between 50 and 70%, and that's if you have it set up correctly. So today I'm going to demonstrate to you what we can do to improve that quality. So with that, let's go to the drawing board and discuss some physics about dry washing. Okay, so I just want to discuss some simple physics with you regarding how a dry washer works. We're not going to get into heavy math or anything like that. We're just going to give you just some basic examples. So this is a cutaway view of a typical vibrostatic dry washer. And so you have your airflow coming in from the pump hose up to here, where you have your fan blade and your counterweight spinning around and cause vibration to shake the entire unit and everything. So the air flows through this box and up onto the riffle, which is the riffle plate up here assembly, and of course it goes through the canvas floor and then up through the top and everything. So this is just a basic flow of how the dry washer works. So the air flows up through here, and what it does is that as the material is fed into the dry washer, we have this air flowing up, and what it does is it causes all the material and everything to float and separate within this chamber here, and it does it all the way down the line. So what happens is that the air acts as a medium to help kind of float the material to get the heavy stuff to sink to the bottom and allow the lighter stuff to kind of flow over the top of these riffles here, as you can see. So this is basically how the dry washer works. So you have to have a certain amount of volume of air flowing up through the riffle through the floor to make all this happen. So here is where the dry washer has a little bit of a problem, is that if you have a piece of, say, black sand or iron that's, say, like maybe a 1/4 inch in diameter, okay, and it weighs a certain amount and everything. So therefore there has to be enough velocity of air coming in here to help lift this piece over the riffle and down to the next and so on down the line, and eventually expel it out the dry washer. But at the same time, trapping the gold. So if this weighs a certain amount, okay, gold is 4 times heavier, okay, than a piece of iron or iron rock or whatever, hematite or whatever you want to call it, lodestone. So therefore the piece of gold would be only about this big at the most, okay, in terms of volume. So therefore the same amount of airflow coming over the top to lift this big rock is also the same amount that's affecting this. They both weigh the same, but if you notice, one is considerably smaller than the other. The gold is definitely in a smaller pattern. And oh, by the way, most of my gold is very coarse. Now, if you have flat gold or something like that, it does change some physical properties. But I'm just sticking with this because this is what I have on my property. Most of my gold's coarse. So therefore, there's less surface area for this little piece of gold to get floated over the top of the riffle by the airflow, compared to this, which has a greater surface area that can get lifted. So therefore this gold nugget or piece will actually float to the bottom through all the agitation or anything else, and eventually work its way down to the riffle, where it'll collect into the dead zone down here, okay? And that's how a dry washer should work, okay? And we see that, actually, because you would expect most of your gold of this size to be recovered in the first couple of riffles if you have it set up properly. But what really is the key is all these fine little tiny specks of gold that usually don't get trapped because they are so fine and so light that same volume of air coming over to lift up this big rock, okay, is affecting these smaller pieces. Now, by random action, some of these do drop down to the bottom, and they do get trapped down here into the riffles and stuff. But unfortunately, most of these finer pieces get pitched over the top and into the next riffle bay, and it gets pitched over again and keeps on going. So therefore, keeps on going, eventually gets expelled off the end of the dry washer. So you really never see the recovery of these finer pieces. Now when I'm talking fine pieces, I'm talking within the visible gold range, and I'm talking like 50 mesh down to 125 mesh, because that's about the size gold that you can see visually if you got a good set of eyeballs. Okay, so a lot of this gets expelled and thrown off. Some people say, oh, my dry washer gets, 95% recovery. Well, 95% of what? So you have to ask yourself, are you capturing the full range of most of the good gold that's out in the field? So my proposal is to actually, what if we were to modify this dry washer where we can classify the rock into a different size particle? Because here we have extremely different sizes here. So what if we put a screen over these riffles here, okay, as an example, okay? And so all the material that flows into here will eventually flow over the top of here. All the bigger pieces will just roll right off the top of this screen, and all the fine stuff will drop down in here. Now we've classified the material. So now we have a better chance of recovery of this finer stuff, okay? So now the fine stuff is flowing down here while all the coarser material is rolling off the top of the dry washer. Anything heavy obviously will be trapped down here. Now, we still have the same problem because we have the same volume of air coming up through the surface. So if we have that same volume, okay, all this fine stuff is just going to lay down here and get blown out, just as it was up here. So what we need to do is we need to baffle down the air that's flowing underneath on the floor here of the riffle board. So by that, we can actually do a couple applications. One, we can double the cloth material that's down here, or we can apply a mesh screen just to reduce the amount of air that's flowing over the top. So with this, I'm going to introduce to you this new thing that helps recover the gold. And so right here is, right in front of you here, is a 20 mesh screen. Now you can buy all these, it's stainless steel, you can buy all these screens on eBay. They have all different various sizes and shapes and things of that sort. So this is 20 mesh. Most of my gold runs anywhere from about 20 mesh to 50 mesh, okay? And then I have a lot of finer stuff as well, but that's the average. So therefore, all the fine stuff is going to drop through the screen. So what I did is I just basically molded a piece of this with a sheet metal bender and shaped it so it fits into the dry washer. And you notice here that it has a slight slope, okay? And so therefore the material will flow up over the top and out, and the finer stuff will drop through the screen. Now what I also done here is, I don't know if the camera can see it, but I've also bent this back here, the leading edge, so it has a hook. So it can actually hook onto this front riffle right here. So it'll actually snag right on and anchor itself. So therefore we can flip it around this way so the right orientation. So it'll actually snag itself right onto the same thing. So you can see how this is made. So what I did here is I took the dry washer riffle board, so here we have this, and I included some pieces of 1/4-inch spruce on both sides, and I just screwed them into the side, put a little bit of glue here to help support it. So with that, I'm actually able to lay this on here, put this screen down, okay, and by the way, it fits really snug, and that's what you want, and I can hook it onto there, so it hooks onto the riffle, and then set it in there. So there you go. So now you can kind of see that. In fact, I'll zoom out the camera a little bit so we can see it a little better here. There we go. Okay. So now you can see how the setup is. All right. So now we have this problem solved. So as the material flows over here, all the coarser material is going to come off the top. All the fine stuff is going to drop below and get trapped on these riffles down below. So now we have to deal with the underside. Okay. And let me just pop this off. So we have the underside. And what I've done here is I got a hold of a piece of 75 mesh screen to act as my air baffle, okay? And again, bought it on eBay, different shapes and sizes, and I just cut it up. So basically it just lays right over the end of this, and so now this reduces the amount of airflow almost in half as it comes over here. It's so it works really well. And like I mentioned earlier, the other effective way to do this is to get an extra piece of cloth and simply mount that on there and glue it down, especially if you're going to be pretty permanent with your setup and all that. It'll probably have the same effect, okay? So there you go. So with that application, we're ready to head back out there and process some gold. So I'll put this guy back on, and then we'll head back out and run some material. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do here first is we're going to run our dry washer in normal mode. No screens or anything like that. As you can see, I've been attacking the bedrock back here in this section right here and finding some pretty decent gold. So hopefully we'll have that again today. So we'll go ahead and run the dry washer in a normal mode, and then after that we'll save all the tailings, and then we'll put the screens on the riffle board, and then rerun the tailings again to see how much gold we can actually capture the second time around. And so anyway, it's hot out here. The ground is bone dry. It's perfect. So time to get to work. Okay, we're doing our panning here of the first run through the dry washer. See if we got any gold in here. See a lot of black sand mixed in here with the white stuff. Gonna be a challenge to probably separate the gold from the black sand. Okay, I'll bring this up to the camera. You can kind of see a lot of specks of gold already starting to show up in the upper part of the black sand and everything. So we definitely have some good gold here. Got quite a collection of fine stuff coming through, which is good because that'll be a good test for our plan here. So this black sand, there's just all kinds of gold just mixed in here, but I'll just kind of bring it to show you some of the nicer pieces here. All right, there we go. So I'll bring it up to the camera here so you can kind of see it. And you see all the nice little pieces right here and everything. And of course, if you look carefully, you can kind of see all this finer pieces of gold stacked through the black sand. So that's not too bad. That's a pretty good show for just running it. So let's go ahead and put the screens on the riffle board and give it a try again and see if we can actually find some more gold that missed on the first pass. All right. Okay, so we got our screen in place here. And so all the material is going to flow down the riffle. It's going to hit this screen, and of course all the finer stuff usually kind of falls through on the slope, and all the lighter or large material flow over the top here. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We got all the tailings all piled up here, and so we'll run them through again and see if we can get any more gold. You can see here as the material is flowing through, all the coarser stuff's going over the top. Most of the fine stuff is dropping right down here. So hopefully we got all the finer material getting worked on down below these lower three riffles. Okay, so here we are. I just took the riffle board off the dry washer, and you can see that we have a lot of gravel up here on the upper half, and then we got the screen here, which I'll pop off here in a minute. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to suck up all this with a vacuum cleaner, pan this out just to see what gets trapped on the upper riffles for the second time around. So I know some of you might be skeptical about, well, if you're just collecting the gold off the top here and not really under the screen. So what we'll do is we'll pan these things out separately. So anyway, you see a lot of gravel here, we'll pan that out. So I'm going to go ahead and lift off the screen here so you can get a better view of what's happening. So we'll just go ahead and tip this up and move this little guy out of the way, and we'll just set it off to the side. So you can see down here, we got a whole bunch of black sand, a little bit of white sand mixed in here. In fact, I think I'll bring it up to the camera if I can here so you can kind of see it a little better. And everything, you see all the black sand kind of down in here. So we'll just set it back down here so you can look at it. All right, so we'll go ahead and suck this up first. We'll pan it out, and then we'll go ahead and suck all this up and pan it out separately and see what we get. Okay, so we're just panning the upper part of the riffle here on the second round just to get some of these coarser material off of here, see if we got any pieces of gold or not. So I'm just going to pan this down fairly quickly, see what we recover. So we got one little, we got a whole bunch of little tiny pieces. Yeah, we got a little bit of gold that we recollected, running it again the second time. Not too bad. Okay. Okay, so there you have it. You can kind of see the pieces of gold here. I'll just bring this up to the camera here so you see it a little better. You see all the little bits of gold here dotted around here. So we did collect a little bit on the second round. This is on the upper riffle. So there is some, like I mentioned before, there is some random chance that you can actually get some pieces of gold trapping up there. So, all right, with that, we'll go ahead and save this, and we'll go ahead and start panning out the lower part of the riffle where the screen is and see the results. Okay, now we're going to pan the lower part of the screen material on the second round here. This is the screen material. It's got a lot of black sand in it, so we're going to take a little bit of time trying to pan this all down. It's got a lot of black sand to cut through. You can see the load of black sand we just have just on the regular cut. It's unbelievable. Lots of black sand here. Lots of black sand. Hopefully there's lots of gold mixed in with that black sand. All right, we'll just take our time cutting it down, slowly working it down to the end here. Get some of this material off. You just kind of get down to the gold without losing too much. You see it, the gold's so fine that it's actually really just kind of conglomerating in the black sand. So I'll probably have to use my blue bowl to separate it out, because you can just, I don't know if you can really see that. I'll bring this up to the camera here a little better, but I don't know if you can see just the fine, just micro fine pieces of, 100 mesh gold and even finer gold just kind of embedded in through this black sand here. So you can really see it's just really loaded. And I'll just try to carefully see if I can get down to maybe a little bit coarser material, make it easier to see. Okay, so I'm going to just bring this up gingerly so you can see it, hopefully. You can see all the blacks, you can see all the finer pieces of gold. There's some pieces right there. So we are doing some pretty good gold capturing. Here's a couple more finer pieces that are right in here that are just coming up. Right there. Let's see if we can get down to some other stuff here. Sorry folks, taking so long, but this black sand's pretty tough. Pretty tough to try to pan down to get it really thin so you can see the gold here. We're almost there. Okay. All right, I think that should be about enough there. Let's see if we can just kind of push these up here. Just kind of swish this around a little bit, just so you get an idea. Okay, so now you can see the gold here, and this is what we recovered. I see, you can see it right here, all these pieces, nice little pieces all along through here. And let's see if I can get this in the camera a little better. See all the nice little pieces. There's a few little stragglers along here. And mixed in with the black sand, again, some real ultra fine gold. So definitely the screen seems to be effective and seems to work fairly well. So let me compare the two here for you. Okay, so now I want to show you the gold. So here is the gold that we got from the first run. Got some nice pieces and all that. You know, it really looks super good. We did a nice job there. So you can see that. And now I'm just going to slide the other one in here so now you can see the difference. And you can see the amount of gold that we picked up on the second round. So therefore, you know, it just goes to show you how effective the screen is. Now just kind of comparing the two, it kind of looks like, you know, with the gold that we got here, plus the gold that we got in here, looks like we got probably about a 25% recovery, somewhere in that ballpark, just eyeballing it without actually getting down and counting the pieces of gold. So it does show that this screen does have merit in helping to improve the gold recovery of your dry washer. Now, as I mentioned before, your dry washer is only so efficient and everything. So a wash plant is much more. So what we're going to do, because it can actually break up the rock, it can wash the rock, where a dry washer really can't do that. It can't break up the clots so easily, and even the upper hopper can't break up the clots. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take all the tailings that we had earlier, and I'm going to run it through my wash plant. So we'll do that next. Okay, this is my wash plant here. Now, if you want to see more details about the wash plant, just go to Alan's Gold Mining Trommel Wash Plant on YouTube, and you should be able to find the link and everything to get more details of how the wash plant works. So what we're going to do is we're going to run all the tailings through here, because at least the wash plant will have a chance to wash all the rocks effectively, as well as any clumps of material that maybe had gold conglomerated in it can break loose and then end up on the sluice. So with that, we'll go ahead and get everything all started and fired up, and we'll run some material. Okay, now we're just panning our concentrates from the wash plant to see, well, if there's any gold that was left in the tailings material from the dry washer. So we're just going to run this through real quick and see what we come up with. Okay, so what I'm seeing really it's just really ultra fine stuff, you know, which, you know, a dry washer is going to have a hard time recovering versus a, you know, a wash plant. So I'll bring this up to the camera to see if you can actually see this, but you can see all the fine gold there embedded in the black sand, just all riddled all through here, especially up here in the corner. You can kind of see a little bit of it here. Let me bring the camera in a little closer if that works. And you can kind of see all the, just a smattering of black sand and gold here. See if we can. Okay, so this is probably it here. This is about best I can do, but you can look down here and you can actually see some of the black sand and gold mix in here. There's a few good pieces. Most of it, like I say, it's really super fine, dotted all through here, probably about 100 mesh. So again, this just goes to show you that the dry washer really can't wash effectively the gold like a wash plant can. So you do get a little better recovery. So, you know, it's kind of a trade-off, and it's, you know, what you can do and what you want to do and everything. So if anybody ever tells you that, oh, I'm getting 90% or 95% recovery on my dry washer, well, here's the proof that that really doesn't work. So, but anyway, you can see that we do have some recovery here, but the dry washer still did a very effective job. We did get some nice pieces of gold and everything, and plus the screen worked very effectively, yielding at least another 25% recovery. So, all right, that's it. I hope you found this video useful and be able to apply it to your own dry washer and everything. And I do wish you the best of luck in your prospecting adventures. Thank you for watching.